Hi everyone, my name is Essen and you are listening to the Brown History Podcast. This is going to be a really cool episode because we'll be speaking to WWE Wrestling Champion Jinder Mahal. We talk about his journey, we talk about his career, we talk about his rise, fall, and then rise, and we talk about his exciting new acting debut in the TV series Big Sky. He clearly has a big bright future ahead of himself and I can't wait to see him reach new heights and I can't wait for you guys to listen to this episode. Let's get started. Here we go. So usually when I start an episode with a guest, I usually talk about their parents and how they immigrated to North America. In your case, Canada. So you want to tell us how your parents met each other and how did they end up coming to Canada?
Yeah, so originally my dad had moved to Calgary before he got married to my mom. My dad's oldest brother was already living in Canada, my taya. And then my dad came. When my father came, my taya, my uncle owned a painting company. And my dad first started off painting and then got his driver's license, got his taxi license, and was a cab driver in Calgary. And then he went back to Canada and then married my mom, and then they both came together. My mom was young when she got married, I believe 19,
Mm-hmm.
and came back with my dad, and my dad was 24.
Okay.
So driving taxi, my mom came, had my older sister. 2 years later, I was born, and then I actually have a younger brother who's 6 years younger than me. So yeah, dad immigrated here first, was working as a taxi driver, went back to India, married my mom, and then both came together. That
Well,
would have been in 83 or 84 when they
before
both came to, yeah.
your dad was already kind of established, but how was your mom's experience in Canada? It must have been depressing to deal with the cold winter nights.
Yeah, I'm sure it was lonely. She didn't know anybody when she moved. Actually, I told the story to you before, but my mom, even when I was living before I left my parents' house, my mom still had her like big fur coat, the first one that she bought when
Yeah.
she moved to Canada, and it was like a big thick coat. Yeah, just back in those days, yeah, it was a big change going from Punjab weather to Canada, not knowing anyone. But we all had like a sense of community. Even when I was growing up, like we grew up in Northeast Calgary, where a lot of South Asians live, a lot of Punjabi people live. So there's a big sense of community. Like I remember as a kid going to like our friends' houses for like birthdays or New Year's, Diwali or what have you, and one of the families would host, and we were all very close. Very close with family, friends, and the other kids that I grew up with, we pretty much called each other cousins, even though we're not related. Yeah,
Yeah.
there's a big sense of community. So they left their families there and kind of built a new community, sense of community, new families in Calgary.
Nonetheless, Canada is a very predominantly white region, big white community. What was your experience like growing up?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Calgary is almost like well, Alberta itself is like the Texas of Alberta. Like
Yeah.
there's lots of cowboys there, and we have the Calgary
Pickup
Stampede.
trucks.
Yeah, exactly. The Calgary Stampede. We have like big rodeo there. So yeah, it is predominantly white. Where I grew up in Northeast, there's a lot of immigrant families are coming there. So there's lots of immigrants. In my elementary school, like half the class. Well, I wouldn't say half the class, but there was there was a big um, South Asian population or Chinese, Vietnamese, Filipinos, lots of other immigrants were in my school there. So yeah, growing up, we did face a lot of racism. We were called the P word a lot,
Hmm.
but at that time, it was I just didn't know any better. Like it was fine. It was I wouldn't say it was difficult, but we definitely faced challenges. But we kind of stuck together, and it was fine. But it was harder for my parents or their generation because when they moved, they couldn't get jobs. My dad came with a bug with a turban, and along with several others, they all had to cut their hair to in order to get jobs. They just couldn't get jobs, so they faced a lot of racism and driving taxi. A lot of them drive at night. They're picking up drunk people, and
Hmm.
actually even to this day, like I still see news articles that like a taxi driver got assaulted. So
Yeah.
I mean, it still happens to this day, unfortunately. But I think it is a lot less. Um, and actually, that we're that Northeast Calgary, where I'm from now, like they have areas where it's predominantly Punjabi now,
Yeah.
and like shopping centers and everything. So it's really cool to see how the community has grown.
I grew up in the East Coast of Canada, and we would say that the
Okay.
difference between brown people on the East Coast and the West Coast of Canada was gang activity. And
Yeah.
we have this image of brown people in the West Coast of Canada as like, you know, gangs and guns and dangerous.
Yeah.
Was gang activity a concern in your life growing up in Canada?
So that was mostly Vancouver side over there in Surrey. Like I remember in the 90s, like Bindi Johal is on
Yeah,
TV. Uh, he has like a public beef with the Sanj brothers,
it
and
was
they're on the news.
wild.
Yeah, it's crazy, right? So Calgary was there wasn't that much gang activity, and a lot of it was sensationalized by the media in those times. But right now, it has gone pretty bad. Um, I've done a few things with some organizations there to work with kids, just steering them on the right path. So
Oh wow.
it's gotten a lot worse now.
Oh really?
The
Why do you
early
think it's
90s.
worse now?
Yeah, I think my generation, we didn't have anybody to look up to. So we turn on the TV, all we see is Bindi Johal, and these guys are so cool, like they're
Yeah.
rebellious, they're fighting the system. So we didn't have any role models, but so that's like my generation grew up, and those were the guys that they still do this. They'll come and they'll have kids, but they're working two jobs. They're working long hours, and no one is raising their kids. So they get into the wrong things, not having role models, not having like a sense of family. I
Hmm.
think they get steered that way, and plus that lifestyle sometimes seems appealing. There's money, there's everything, the fast life, but a lot of times they don't realize the consequences.
Right.
There's several shootings and terrible crimes going on. So that's definitely one thing that I want to see change, and I want to do more work with the youth and kind of steer them in the right direction. But now we have really good role models like in sports. Not only myself, but we have Arjun Butler, first MMA Punjabi champion. We have Satnam Singh, first NBA player. We have Lily Singh. I mean, we have people all over in television now. you
It's
know,
growing.
um, it's growing. Yeah, yeah, exactly. And another thing is like when I was growing up, like the South Asians really, their parents really pressured them to be like doctors and lawyers and whatnot, because there was no one else doing any other fields that we could see that were successful. But now like we have people in arts, and we have writers and artists and actors and athletes and everything. So I think now, like we'll see more and more of our youth, more and more like brown kids or South Asians, kind of aiming to go in those routes.
Speaking of doctors and engineers, was there a lot of pressure on you because you took a completely left turn and became a wrestler? And how did your parents, you know, that's a completely left turn. So how did your parents take that when you decided to make that decision?
Yeah, yeah, no, no. My family's been very supportive. I went to university. I got my education, so just in case wrestling didn't work out, I had something to fall back on,
Yeah.
which is very important. But no, they've been supportive because they see my dedication. Like even when I was like 14, 15 years old, I would take bus, trains, and minus 40 Canadian weather to go train and everything just on my own.
Wow.
So my dedication level was 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 very high, and it was apparent that I was kind of make this happen. But in case if it didn't, I had an education to fall back on, which I highly recommend for everyone. Get educated, because that's something that nobody can take away from you. If you have knowledge, you have education, you have skills, nobody can ever take that away from you.
So how did wrestling come into your life? Was that always the plan for you? Like you were head on
Yeah,
that?
yeah, yeah. So growing up in Calgary, Bret Hart's from Calgary, so we have the Hart family. We had
Yeah.
Stampede Wrestling. Calgary is a very big wrestling city. So as long as I can remember, I wanted to be a wrestler. Just growing up watching first like Hogan, and then Bret Hart, Hogan Ultimate Warrior, then Bret Owen Hart, and then Rock, Stone Cold. And then even when I was in high school, I would see like John Cena and Randy Orton, Undertaker. I mean, Undertaker's been there several generations. People that I've got to share the ring with. So yeah, just always been a fan. I always wanted to do it. Just started training the summer between grade 9 and grade 10 for pro wrestling. Just in like a dingy gym and like a kickboxing ring. Just worked my way up. By the time I was 18, I started wrestling for Stampede Wrestling, which
Okay.
is the Hart brothers. Bruce Hart was running it then. So we'd wrestle every week in Calgary. Then we'd start traveling around Alberta a little bit. That was when I was 18, so right out of high school. Then started traveling across Canada a little bit, and then was there for a couple years. And then when I was 23, I tried out for WWE and here where I live now in Tampa, Florida,
Right.
and got signed when I was 23. Moved here to Tampa to join the
Wow.
developmental system. At that time, it was called Florida Championship Wrestling. This is before the Performance Center now in Orlando. Yeah, and that was when I was 23. When I was 24, I debuted on SmackDown with Great Khali. So I was on SmackDown Raw for a couple years in that would have been 2011 when I debuted. 2010 I got signed. 2011 I debuted on SmackDown. I was released by WWE in 2014. Just wrestled around on my own for 2 years. Came back in 16, won the championship in 17, and here we are in 22, still with WWE.
Did it not discourage? I mean, wrestling is a very tough field to get into, and to be a brown guy, did it not discourage you that when you looked at the wrestling industry, there wasn't that many people of color? Didn't that like kind of hold you back a bit, or
No, not at all. I actually saw it as like a plus.
really?
Just yeah, exactly. Like because I grew up watching wrestling, I see all these different characters. Everybody's so different. I really like the unique wrestlers, and not only that, we've had some South Asian wrestlers in the past. Tiger Jeet Singh, in WWE, Kali, Tiger Ali Singh, his father, Tiger Jeet Singh, Dara Singh from India. Obviously, everybody knows Dara Singh. Gamma Singh, who was at wrestling in Stampede Wrestling there, who really helped train me a lot and
Oh
guide me and
wow.
everything. So yeah. So I kind of looked at it as like a like a benefit, like because in wrestling, like we have the good guys and the bad guys, and the bad guys are often like foreign looking,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
to feud with like the American, like what we call baby face. So wrestling is just entertainment, just like movies you watch or television shows. So I kind of looked at it as like a positive, but it definitely makes it tougher. Just getting your name out there. It's hard to break out, but once you break out, like because you're sometimes you're the only one. Like I believe it's a benefit.
Wow. So when you join wrestling, how does it work? When do you choose your name, your attire, your catchphrases, your character, or do you get like help?
Yeah, you work with a creative team. They have a creative department, and then you work with them. There's a lot of like the wrestling name. My real name is Yuvraj Desi, but they want to trademark it so they can have the copyright for it, so they
Mm,
can make the merchandise and everything, intellectual property. So yeah, you work with writers, and they have a whole team of creative services that kind of come up with logo designs. I've been wearing the trunks for years. Actually, I used to wear shorts, and then when I came for my tryout, it was Dusty Rhodes was there. He was one of the main guys there in Florida Championship Wrestling, WWE's Farm League. And when I came for my tryout, when I got signed, Dusty Rhodes told me, "Hey, when you come back bringing wearing trunks like the style that I wear
like
now."
the underwear or like the
Exactly.
shorts, the
Yeah.
underwear you mean?
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. The brief that
The
we call them trunks. Yeah,
yeah.
the trunks. So so I got one made, and I was like, oh man, this is so weird. I don't know about this. And then yeah. And then as I started wrestling in them, like now I can't imagine wearing anything else. They're so super comfortable. So yeah, so we got the logo on there, and then the name Jinder Mahal um, on there. So yeah,
Oh,
but they work very closely. Like for instance, I gave them a sample of some music, and then they came up with the theme, that my theme song.
if you look at the history of wrestling, often the industry kind of enforces stereotypes of different cultures, and you have an Arab. There was an Arab wrestler named Muhammad Hassan, but he turned out to be a white guy. You had the Iron Sheikh. You had Sergeant Slaughter, I think, who was like a pro Saddam lover.
Yeah,
What were your
yeah,
experiences with like dealing with the stereotypes? Because on one hand, you are an Indo-Canadian wrestler, but on the other hand,
yeah,
stereotypes help with the entertainment factor during those
yeah.
days.
Exactly. It's just entertainment. Uh, but it's kind of changed now. It's not so stereotypical.
No, it's not.
It's yeah. I think just with the times now, we have to be a little bit more sensitive on certain issues. But at the same time, like we can kind of push the issues, because that's what the fans really get riled up when it comes to like nationalism and things like that. I think that's
Representing.
what made, yeah, exactly, representing. Yeah, and definitely, like now, you see wrestlers from certain countries not portraying like a stereotypical role. Like for instance, Shinsuke Nakamura. Maybe historically he would have had like a traditional Japanese attire, but this guy, he's amazing. He's comes out like a rock star. He's inspired by like musicians and rock stars. He comes out dancing, and he has like a awesome theme music. It's not like stereotypical Japanese is what it would have been in the past. And I would really like to see a South Asian wrestler just kind of have something like so unique just to himself. I think we're very close. It's just um, coming up with that. I think we're close to it, so it's not something so stereotypical.
Right. I mean, if I watch your videos from when you started out to your videos like in recently, the
Yeah,
difference is like insane. Like you're bigger, you're like more confident, you represent, you have your music, you've got a Bhangra team, you got Lily Singh kind of repping you out. And you can tell how the times have changed since, back then, because I think in your debut night, you came in with a kurta and or a
yeah.
shalwar, and you looked, you had short hair. And by the way, everybody was booing at you guys. Does the
Yeah.
booing get to you? Because you're trying to do your job, but like the booing is just so loud and it must feel a little bit like, ugh, especially the
No,
first
no, not
night.
at all.
Not the first
Yeah.
night.
Yeah, definitely. I have evolved and everything and gotten more comfortable. But no, I love the booing because that's a part of it. Like we're all just entertaining the fans. Um, they know they're coming just to a show to be entertained. I meet fans outside of wrestling all the time, at airports, restaurants, at the gym, and everything. And everybody is super cool. They say like, "Oh, we love the character. Oh, we love your feud with so and so. We love your storyline with so and so." No, but the boos are a part of the show. The fans come to cheer for their favorites and boo for the villains and everything, and they get caught up in the storylines. Sometimes they forget this is entertainment, so they get so wrapped up in it. They get so serious. But no, the booze is the fun part of it. I know I'm doing my job good,
Mm-hmm.
and just getting under people's skin. I actually prefer to be a bad guy. It's much more
Really?
fun. You can control the match. I find it easier and more fun. I don't know why.
Interesting.
Actually, a lot of wrestlers say the same thing.
How's your fan base in India?
It was amazing. WWE's actually highest viewership comes from India. So like they're
Seriously,
yeah,
amazing.
their most passionate fans, like their YouTube subscribers, the television rating, number one viewership is in India. Yeah, they love WWE there, but I can understand why. Like the larger than life characters, um, it's almost kind of like a
Like an
Bollywood
like
film
an India.
in a way. Yeah, we got the lights, we got the action, we got the storylines, we have the fight scenes,
Yeah,
which are matches. So a lot of ways it's like Bollywood. But no, they were awesome. Got to meet so many cool fans. I had a match with Triple H in Delhi. That was a big moment.
that's so
Triple
cool.
H, yeah, Triple H actually just retired from in ring, so that would have been one of his last matches, um, when I got to face him. And one time I went for a media tour where I didn't wrestle. That was awesome. I actually did get to wrestle in Punjab one time. So that the 2 years I was away from WWE, Kali put on a show in Ludhiana in the Guru Nanak. No, sorry, yeah, Guru Nanak Stadium. Yeah, I think it was Guru Nanak Stadium in Ludhiana. We had a show there. So that was the one time I did wrestle in Punjab.
That's
But we
amazing.
wrestled, yeah, we wrestled in some other states and on that trip. So yeah, it's awesome. Hopefully with with COVID kind of nearing an end, hopefully we get to go back soon. And the fans there are so passionate. It's amazing.
In 2014, I think it was 2014, you got released from your WWE contract. So there was this 2 year gap between you coming back. What
Yeah.
was that 2 year gap like? Because was that something you wanted, or was that something you were just kind of, I guess, was it a period of figuring out things? And how did you deal with it?
So, so in 2014, when I got released, it definitely wasn't something that I wanted. But now looking back, it was probably something that I deserved. I wasn't taking things seriously. I wasn't training hard. And actually, you can go back and look like my performance at that time, just the way I looked. It wasn't near the level of where I should have been. Just my focus was off. I wasn't in a good position on the card, so I was just playing the blame game instead of just working hard and working my way up, is which I essentially did after. So, but looking back, it was probably the best thing that happened to me at that time. Yeah, I wasn't focused at all. So when I got released from WWE, it took some time to figure some things out. I really got focused. I completely stopped drinking. I still haven't drank to, like, it's been several years, but zero alcohol.
Wow.
Started dieting, training really hard, started my transformation at that time, and then got hired back 2 years later in 2016. And during the time that I was released, I always said to myself, like, hey, if I ever get a second shot, like, I'm gonna take it seriously. I'm gonna work hard. I'm not gonna play the blame game, to have the victim mentality. So yeah, just set goals, just work very hard. I wanted to become WWE champion. I didn't think that it was possible that in that short of time,
Yeah.
but yeah, it was awesome. I came back, and within 10 months, I was WWE champion. A lot of hard work, change, and transforming myself physically, mentally, being more responsible, knowing how to do media, how to present myself, because what we do is just not in the ring. It's 24/7. You represent WWE, you're representing your brand and everything that you do, and you have to be a very responsible person to be the face of a major company like WWE.
Mm-hmm. What was the shift in your mentality in those 2 years? Like, what was the trigger that got you to, like, take action?
Man, it was honestly like the realization that I might have to do something else in real life. Like, I can't just be a wrestler as a career. Like,
Right.
I was looking at okay, what business can I open, or things like that. And I was like, hey, you know what? I was how old was I? 28 or 29 at that time. I'm like, listen, like, I'm too young. I need to get focused. I know that I can get back. And yeah, that was the main thing. There's just the realization that I may not be professional wrestling as a career anymore. And I just didn't want to be doing something that I don't want to do.
Mm-hmm.
That was the main thing.
So now you're getting into acting, and I think you have 8 episodes on this new series of season 2 called Big Sky.
Yeah.
I think this is your first acting debut.
I'm on Big Sky. It's a show on ABC, and it's been an awesome experience. Just randomly, Janina, who's on the show, Janina Gavankar, and Vinny Chibber, their brother and sister on the show, they reached out, and they just kind of out of the blue,
Really?
like, through some wrestlers that we know. One of the wrestlers, Xavier Woods, actually, and an old commentator in WWE, Renee Young. They messaged me and said, hey, people are looking for your phone number. Can we give it to them? I said, yeah, no problem. Then Janina reached out and presented the opportunity and said, is this something you want to do? I said, actually, it is. Yeah. I think that's my next transition, because now I'm 35, and I've had 2 serious knee injuries.
Mm-hmm.
So I know that definitely I have more good years behind me than I do in front of me in the world of wrestling. Unfortunately, but it is what it is. So I would like to do more acting. It was so much fun, and it was an awesome experience, and it challenged me to grow. That's what the main thing I really enjoyed about it. It's challenging, but a lot of the skills translated over from WWE.
Yeah, I was
to
gonna ask that question.
Big Sky. Yeah. I felt really natural when the camera's on. I know the angles and everything. Yeah, WWE really prepared me for this. Because in WWE, same thing. We do the promos. We get a script. So it was very similar. Just WWE is one time live. So each one is very interesting and different, but definitely I want to do more acting. And the main reason is because I suck at it.
No,
But like in my mind, I know that I can get so much better. Like that's what
right.
excites me. Yeah, I want to grow. Just like when I started my wrestling career early, like I knew that I wasn't. I knew there's a lot of room to grow.
Yeah.
So the same thing. I want to challenge myself and work with different actors. Just like when I started wrestling, I wanted to work with certain wrestlers. I want to work with all types of actors, pick up new skills, try different things, get out of my comfort zone.
Hmm.
So yeah, it's a very exciting time, and it's on ABC on Thursday nights, and then also on Hulu.
Yeah. So would you ever consider Bollywood?
I would. I would. Yeah, yeah, definitely. Obviously, I mean, of course, I grew up watching Bollywood. If the right role at the right time came by, definitely, I would like to do both. Something in
Yeah.
Hollywood, something in Bollywood. Yeah, but this is like a long game. I can't expect big success overnight. I know that I have to be humble and work my way up and set
Hmm.
goals and really prove myself. I think a lot of people make that mistake. They think, oh, this will be easy. But I realize nothing is easy. Everything takes a lot of work and everything takes dedication. And I respect. I have a lot of respect for the actors. Just being on set, like with Janina and Vinny Chibber and Bernie White, who plays the father, and Constance Zimmerman, who I used to watch on Entourage, and we have Jamie Lynn Siegler, who I used to watch on Sopranos. Just seeing them, like I was like, man, you guys are masterful actors. Like it made me realize, like, okay, I have a lot of things to learn.
Yeah.
They make it look like effortless, like, and that's how I see like wrestlers. Like I see top level wrestlers. Someone might look at me and like maybe like a new wrestler be like, oh my god, you make it look so effortless.
Yeah.
Actually, that
You
is the
do.
case because yeah, a lot of for instance, we went to Europe last tour, and I'm the opening match in London O2 Arena, huge arena, and like 15 minutes before the match, I'm still laying around, just like chilling. And like one of the young wrestlers is like, hey, like, aren't you nervous? It was his first time. I go, no, I got this. I'm like, this part, it's way too early. We still got 15 minutes. So yeah, like he couldn't believe that. Like just like how relaxed I was and just kind of chill before the match. But yeah, they make it look so effortless, and I really respect it as an art. Like acting, it really is an art, just like wrestling is an art.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of wrestlers that, made it into acting. John Cena, The Rock, so
Yeah,
there's a good
yeah. There's
path
not a
there for you.
lot, but
There's not a lot, but it's
yeah,
possible.
yeah, it is possible again with hard work.
They all
A
have good
lot of
work
times,
ethic.
like very good work ethic, very good representatives of WWE and what a pro wrestler should be. Very good representatives as human beings. Yeah, Dave Batista is doing awesome. John Cena, The Rock, obviously the
The
Godfather.
Godfather.
So yeah. Those are some big shoes to fill. But yeah, definitely, I see myself kind of making that transition, especially now that I'm getting older, and I know my in-ring career is kind of winding down, unfortunately.
I guess my last question would be, do you have any advice for anyone trying to, I don't want to say get into wrestling, but trying to get anywhere in life?
Yeah, I think this is super important because especially South Asians, as I mentioned earlier, we feel so much pressure, and a lot of times in that pressure, we follow a path that we truly are not happy on. Like I know so many professional, successful people who appear to have it all on paper, but really deep down, like they talk to me like man, you like I can't believe like you do what you love, and like they have everything, but it doesn't satisfy them. It doesn't fulfill them. So I think it's super important to first and foremost find out what you're passionate about, and then set goals. And work ethic is super important. Make sure you're doing everything you can. You have to outwork your competition. That's essentially how you're going to make it in anything. You have to be the hardest worker. I think The Rock always says the hardest worker in the room. You got to be the hardest worker in the
Yeah.
room. Not listening to the naysayers, because everyone will tell you no, it's not possible. Try to cut you down, because really it's just a reflection of the insecurities that they have on themselves. They're trying to put those limitations on you. So Don't put limits on yourself. Don't believe the naysayers. Just work on your craft. Figure out what you're passionate about. Set goals and just smash them. Little by little. Whether they're big goals, I think setting small goals is really important too. Smaller, realistic goals that ultimately lead you on that path to where the end game is.
Perfect. That's great. Is there anything you want to add on? You want to say something?
No, that's everything. Well, yeah, actually, one thing I wanted to mention. So the show that I'm on, actually on ABC, it's kind of historic in a way because this is the first time there's a South Asian family presented in a way that's not stereotypical. No one has accents. No one's a doctor or like a tech guy. I think it's super important in terms of representation, and just the time we're in now. We have so many South Asians in TV and emerging now in sports and everything. I actually just seen a Punjabi, I believe from Surrey, just got drafted to NHL. And we have another player, Jinder Kara, I believe he plays in Edmonton, or he was playing in Edmonton. So yeah, now is it's an awesome time. I really wish I had this when I was a kid to look up to, but
Yeah.
it's okay. It's okay because we're kind of the first generation to do it, and those sacrifices all our parents made by moving here and working double shifts and everything. Like now's our time to pay it back. So let's as a community let's do positive things
Paid
and
forward.
encourage pay it forward and encourage the youth. Keep them away from the negative stuff. Encourage them, let them know that it's possible to dream big and accomplish anything.
Awesome. This is a great way to end the episode.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you, brother.
Thank you so much. I'll release this probably this week. And
Cool, brother. We'll do it up. Thank you so
all right,
much, man.
take
Thank you
care.
for all you do, preserving
too.
the history.